Shamu from IG joins us now from Melbourne. Stan, good to see you there. Yeah, it was interesting though, despite the fact that there was no deal reached for Greece still, talk that maybe we might get it next week. Fiscal cliff hasn't been solved, yet markets managed to gain. What do you think was going on?
Morning, Bridie. Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like European leaders continue to come up with all the excuses in the world not to reach an agreement. But it absolutely seems like they are looking to come up with something on November the 26th. We have heard a couple of positive comments from Angela Merkel and Wolfgang Schäuble as well, just suggesting that they are pretty close. There's just a few technical things to sort out, and November 26th should be the day when they come up with a solution. But there are some hiccups. Of course, we've got the Eurogroup meeting coming up today. They'll discuss the budget. Hopefully that doesn't see escalating tension ahead of that November 26th meeting, where everyone's now expecting to receive a deal. Of course, the euro responded quite well to that after having been sold off quite drastically late in yesterday's Asian session, from highs of around 128.2 all the way down to 127.4. It managed to recuperate all that loss and actually extended its gains to about 128.3 the last time I checked. So it does seem like there is that optimism building around a solution for Europe. Of course, the main issue is we had built ourselves up for a positive outcome yesterday, and that's probably the reason why we saw such a drastic reaction in the Asian session. We also saw, obviously in US trade, sentiment pick up. We had that better than expected unemployment claims number coming in at 410,000 versus a consensus of about 415,000. We had a ceasefire in the Middle East, and of course we had some manufacturing PMIs out of the US showing that the economy is steadily recovering and remains in expansionary territory at the moment. So there was a little bit to cheer about, but unfortunately with the US Thanksgiving holiday coming up, volume definitely remained fairly thin, and that did limit the upside to an extent. But we are now looking at a fairly positive start as well in Asia on the back of that. But the euro will definitely remain in focus. There's plenty of PMIs coming up later today. We also have a Spanish bond auction along with that Eurogroup meeting that I mentioned before. So there's still a lot of event risk coming up later today.
Stan, so what's the IG opening call then for the Aussie market?
We're currently calling it at about 43.90, so that's a 0.6% gain from yesterday's close. Of course, you need to take into consideration the sharp sell-off into the close, which saw us down about 0.3%, so it's not too much of a gain. We'll still have that 4,400 level to look out for. That's where we've been stalling over the past couple of sessions, and going ahead as well, on the economic front, we don't have much locally, but we've got the HSBC flash manufacturing PMIs. Last month it came in at 49.5. We'll be hoping for a bit of an improvement today to give risk assets a bit of a kicker in the Asian session. Of course, we need further evidence that the Chinese economy is stabilizing, and that should encourage investors and help underpin some of the risk assets. As well in the region, we've got Japan firmly in focus. Of course, the dollar yen's been on a tear over the past few sessions. It printed a high of about 82.54 in US trade, and it's really all up to that political change that's being expected with the LDP largely tipped to be successful and implement some ultra loose monetary policy stance going ahead. So that should be very supportive of Japan's exporters and the Nikkei going forward. Locally, we've got BHP's ADR called up about 0.5% to 33.53, so that's a fairly steady gain for our biggest miner. That should resonate throughout the rest of the resource space. Unfortunately, iron ore prices were relatively flat, so that's not too much of a positive lead, but I'm sure we'll look to China data for further guidance on what will happen in the resource space later today. Of course, we had stocks like David Jones, which came out yesterday with those first quarter sales numbers firmly in focus. They was sharply sold off. We're likely to continue getting some brokers responding to this result, and it will also put the likes of Maya into focus going ahead. And we've got gold prices pushing a bit higher, tracking the euro higher, and that might see the precious metals hold up fairly well today.
Great to get your thoughts as always, Stan. Thank you so much for that.